What's up, everybody? So want to come on and do a video about something that I think will help myself as well as my clients and other people who may be interested in competing in bodybuilding. So what I'm going to talk about is prep, basically, and then everything that comes before and after. So I just want to give some insight onto what a contest prep looks like, from beginning to end. And also some of the preparation phases to start a prep, and then all the way through show day and the time after. I'm not going to get into philosophies as far as nutrition or training or supplements or drug protocols or anything like that. I just want to kind of go over what the process is like and what you can expect to feel and think. And then potentially maybe some coping strategies, to deal with the entire process. So I'm going to kind of visit this from a standpoint of someone who has never competed before, who does have a background, in working out and training. If someone doesn't have a background in training or working out or whatever, but they do like the idea of competing, it's just a longer process because you're going to put them through some, or some early training life things, basics, fundamentals, teach them how to train and do that for a while before you consider getting ready for a show, unless they're just, genetically elite and, it doesn't take much for them to put on muscle. But anyway, so the way I'm going to approach this, like I said, is going to be somebody who's never competed but has a background in training. So let's just say a client comes to me and, for this purpose in this video, it doesn't really matter if they're male or female because I'm not getting into the specifics or anything. So they come to me, say, hey, like this competing thing, like the idea of competing. I like XYZ division and I'd like to do a show. Usually someone, my prospective clients have a show in mind, which is great. But a lot of times we have to kind of discuss, some potential alternatives to that depending on time frame and whatnot. So let's just, they came to me, they expressed interest in hiring me to coach them and that they do want to compete. So the first thing I'm going to do is gather some information from that person. So, what's your training look like currently? What's your nutrition currently at? How, where are your supplements at? Enhanced, natural supplements, whatever. Do you have any injuries, allergies, things like that? I'm going to collect pictures. And so from there, I'm putting a plan together. So the initial phases of, getting ready to prep are going to be establishing a baseline of training volume and nutrition. So, based on what they're already doing, I'm going to create something, relatively similar, make the adjustments that I think are appropriate, based on whatever division they're on. If they're doing too much volume, I'll back them down some. If they're not doing enough, I'll add some, but it's going to be a new plan, and that sort of thing. So the first phase of everything as a coach is figuring someone out. That's why it's not really ideal to hire someone for a 12-week prep. You just, come up to a coach. Hey, I heard 12 weeks is how long you prep. I want to do the show. Let's do it. That's not going to go great. It could, depending on genetics and things like that, but ultimately that's not ideal. So the beginning phases, you're going to figure things out, right? Figure out how somebody's body responds, figure out maybe some food allergies, things like that. If you're doing a meal plan, have someone learn how to track macros. Even if they're on a meal plan, I'm going to have the macros written out just so they understand what is going on, with the nutrition. So, the first, again, this is very vague, but, it's X number of weeks of, getting some training volume baselines, some metabolic baselines as far as nutrition intake, getting some cardio in place, creating some good habits, creating some just some things that that people can get used to doing, on a daily basis and on a weekly basis. Check-ins, we're making sure that check-ins are understood and that we're in a good habit of sending all the data that's necessary, and then adjusting accordingly based on the needs there. So it's all very much a pre-preparation process, and again, this is very vague, but this isn't always how that works, right? So sometimes there is a certain time frame that I'm restricted to because someone's about to go to school, or someone, knows they're going to have a baby soon, or, some sort of time limitation. So this is just a perfect world that I'm describing here. So, we go through all the phases or the first several weeks where I'm figuring out someone's body, getting them accustomed to everything, putting on some muscle, of course. There may be a situation where we need to do a fat loss phase first, then a building phase, and then a contest prep, or some combination of that, or even a building phase, then a holding phase, and then a contest prep. So it varies based on the person, but just generally, you're going to have some time in the beginning working with a coach where they're figuring out your body and allowing you to figure out their processes, getting in some good habits and preparing to do a contest prep. So that's kind of how that begins, right? So you're figuring everything out, assuming you already know what division you want to do and that sort of thing. So once you get through that pre-prep phase, whatever that looks like, you get in, you're ready to begin a contest prep phase. So, calories are in a good place. Your cardio is not really high. It's at a reasonable place to start. Normally my people are going to be somewhere around 3 times a week, 20 to 30 minutes or so, beginning a contest prep. Some people do no cardio to begin with, and that just, again, depends. But we're going to be at a place where cardio is low, food's high, there's no injuries. If we're on anabolics, we have, we're making sure that, we're in a good, healthy place to start. So we've either done like some sort of a health phase before this. Of course, we've gotten some blood work to make sure that we're healthy to continue to prep. So everything is ready to go, and we've made sure, checked all our boxes on that. So prep starts. So the first few weeks of prep, you're going to feel incredible. So these are going to be even better than your off-season times because you're no longer, force feeding. You're no longer, well, you may be, but you're force feeding less. You're pushing less food. You're stuffed less. You're less lethargic because of all the food that you have and that sort of thing. And you're not as heavy because your weight's coming down, or at least your body fat's coming down. You might be maintaining weight. So the first few weeks of prep, assuming everything, your body does respond the way that you hope it will, you're going to feel amazing. Training is going to be better than ever. Your mood's going to be awesome. Sleep's going to be great. Clothes are starting to fit a little bit better. If you had some pants that were a little snug in the waist, or if you had some shirts that you had to do this whole belly pull thing that, whatever, those are going to start to fit a little bit more loosely in the midsection and things like that. So the beginning of prep is a very healthy, very enjoyable, great phase, right? You start to look a little bit better. You start to see some new lines, and some of the body fat that you had is starting to go away. So your shape's coming in a little bit better. So that's a great time. So that, let's just say we're doing a 20-week prep. And, that could be short, could be long, depending on the person. But let's say we're doing 20 weeks. So the first 6 or 7 weeks, you're feeling great. Your body's responding well. You're not having to do anything too crazy to get your fat to come down. Everything's feeling good. So that's great, right? So then you get to somewhere between 12 weeks out, to 7 or 8 weeks out, and this is assuming that you didn't start out super fat and have to like really get aggressive. Okay. This is, again, it's an ideal situation. So, and again, these weeks can vary a good bit. So, don't hear me saying this is exactly the time frame of how you feel and those types of things, but just kind of an idea of what might happen. So from 12 down to 8 weeks or so, you are, you're starting to get a little bit tired. Potentially you are, you're hungry, between meals. Sometimes your mood is starting to kind of, fluctuate a little bit. You might have your good days and your bad days as far as that goes. Certain things will start to bother you that maybe they wouldn't before. So, but it's not unbearable, right? It's manageable. So you get down to that 8-week mark. You are seeing some progress in your body and your physique. And so it's, you're not really concerned about a whole lot. Okay. Well, now we're down to the 8 weeks mark or so. Like I said, it's vague, but let's say we're at the 8 weeks mark, and, the changes are going to be less obvious, or at least less, I guess, drastic. Your body, you're going to have to do more to get more out of your body. So at this point, your energy's starting to really tank. You're not feeling great. Your workouts are starting to go downhill a good bit. Again, this is not everybody. Ideally, if you can keep food high and keep energy high and keep cardio low and your body's responding really well and everything's going great, then none of these negative things might be happening to you. But I'm just saying, generally, this is what you can expect. So we're getting down to the 8 weeks. We're dropping, we're dropping body fat. We're pushing the cardio pretty high. The food's coming down a good bit. It's lower than you're used to eating, and so your energy starts to come down. Well, then the doubt creeps in, right? And this is everybody. This is pros alike. I've heard pros say this. So am I going to be ready? Do I have enough muscle? Am I going to be lean enough? Do I belong on this stage, whatever stage, whether it's the, regional non-qualifying show that you're going to do, or it's the Olympia? Like, you're going to wonder, do I belong up there? Am I going to be able to hold my own, or am I going to look silly and embarrassed, right? That's going to happen. You're going to have those thoughts. Every now and then people won't, but for the most part, you're going to have those doubts. So that's just something you can expect there. You're going to look at yourself and you're going to wonder, am I going to be ready? Am I lean enough? 3 months, 4 months, 5 months later, you can look back at the pictures and you think, wow, I was crazy. I looked really good, hopefully. And so just keep in mind, that's kind of what you're dealing with. You're going to have those self-doubts. You're going to have, just the doubts about whether you belong and that kind of thing. That's why you hire a coach. Okay. Your coach can tell you, no, your body's not responding the way that, we would hope it would. We need a little more time, or, now that the fat's coming off, we don't have the muscle that, we thought maybe we did. We need to take some more time and grow, and maybe try this again in a year when you have more muscle and that sort of thing. So that's why you hire a coach, to consult with them, not only on what should you do through the process, but also, the process is going a certain way. Well, is this the way it should be going? Is there, do we need to be doing something, different as far as like show plans and stuff? The coach is you're not going to text your coach and be like, shouldn't we be doing this instead? And they're like, oh yeah, I didn't even think to do this cardio or whatever, thanks for telling me. That's not what I mean. I don't mean, should we be doing something different within the program? I mean, should we be doing something different as far as like what show, or how long, is this prep going to be, and that kind of thing. So, it's important to have those conversations as a coach and as a client, just so that that you're on the same page. That's something I've gotten a little better at, as I've coached, is being honest with people and letting them know that they are not going to be ready. What do I expect, as far as placings and things like that. I never promise anybody they're going to be ready for anything, and I never promise anybody they're going to place anywhere, because you don't know. It's a subjective sport, and you don't know how people's bodies are going to respond to certain things. As you prep someone or work with someone for longer and longer, you can make some pretty solid assumptions, based on, previous data. But if you got a brand new person, there's no coach in the world that can predict exactly what's going to happen with everyone's body, no matter what level coach they're at. So that's why it's important to take time with your coach, give them a couple of shows to get you, to your best, and then continue like that. So, of course, if you're not getting the services that you're paying for, or if the relationship's not very good, or the coach is hurting you in some way and ignoring your health or whatever, then yeah, you need to hire a new coach. But I mean, if you are going through a process, things are going great, but then, maybe there's some adjustments that need to be made with the end goal, then that's a conversation to have. So anyway, so you're looking at the 8 weeks out mark, getting closer and closer, doubting yourself, wondering, you're suffering at this point, right? So you're really hungry. Every meal, you're hungry before you even finish it. You're tired during the cardio. You're tired during training. You don't feel good. You feel just, achy and sore and grumpy and whatever. So those are your last few weeks of prep. We're getting down to 4 or 5, 3 weeks out, something like that. This is where you can separate yourself from everyone else, right? So if you can push and push, not mess up the diet, not skip the cardio, not skip the training, get the sleep that you're supposed to get, make sure that your routine's in order as far as just everything. That's when you can put yourself, in the middle of first call-outs versus like the end of first call-outs or even second call-outs. The people who can endure the most and push the hardest, assuming normal or, not insane genetics, then those are the ones that separate themselves and do the best. So these last, 3 to 4 weeks of this prep, you are asking a lot out of your body and your mind. And if you can get through that, then it will be worth it. So that's kind of what you can expect from those, those last few weeks of prep. So now you're through with everything except for peak week. Okay. So you're down to the last final week, assuming that the prep has gone the way that you want it to. Hopefully at some point during the prep, you were able to do a, practice peak week. That is something that I want to get, better at doing with my athletes, just to make sure that we are, loading enough, and that we know kind of where our limit is as far as carbs, and, what we need to do with water and cardio and those types of things. So if you can get ready early, you can practice some of these things. But anyway, so regardless of that, let's say we're down to peak week. Body fat's exactly where we need it to be, or at least, it's in a good spot to feel good about getting on stage with the conditioning for the division and the level of show that we're at. So we feel good about that. So there's tons of different peaking strategies. I'm just going to discuss like a linear peak or a linear carb load from the early part of the week. So let's say your last leg workout's on Sunday, which is usually what I prescribe for my people, so that the legs do get, freshened up by the show day. So your last hard training day is on Sunday, right? So that's great. You did legs, you had your low carb day or whatever it was on Sunday. And then Monday, you're starting peak week. In my opinion, I start my peak weeks on Monday. A lot of people like to say it's like, Saturday or Sunday or whatever. But my peak weeks, when I write them out, they start on Monday, assuming it shows on Saturday. So, the idea and the goal for peak week is to get water off of your body, because the inflammation from all the cardio you've been doing, the training you've been doing, the stress, from losing some sleep and things like that. We want to try to get rid of all of that water. So how do we do that? We take some cardio and lower it by a lot, potentially depending on how much you're doing, but you want to taper down the cardio, or this is, kind of my linear peaking strategy. So you're going to taper the cardio down, starting as early as you can. But in this case, we're starting Monday. So the cardio is at a certain point on Monday. The food's at a certain point. Ideally, we want to slowly increase the food from Monday, slowly taper the cardio down. That's going to take your water off your body. Increasing the food is also going to lower cortisol a little bit, and also get some of the water off. And you're going to fill your muscles up with the glycogen and the water, which is why I'm not a big fan of water loading and cutting and those types of things. Anyway, so we're increasing carbs starting early in the week, and then we are decreasing cardio starting early in the week, and then we get to Friday night. Burger and fries, right? Maybe not. It depends on how you look, what you need, if you had a weight to make, maybe, because we might be doing some kind of a different strategy. So anyway, so not everybody gets a burger and fries on Friday night. More often than not, I don't do that, right? Like it's not always necessary, and a lot of times it's just kind of dangerous. You're going to risk messing up your look, your digestion gets off, and then you're holding a bunch of water. You haven't been eating burgers and fries for weeks and weeks and weeks, so why is that going to be a good idea? Now, again, sometimes I will do that. So anyway, you're to Friday night, maybe you get a burger and fries, maybe you didn't, whatever. Get some sleep that night, obviously, as much as you can, and then you're up the next morning, whatever time you have to, if you've got hair, makeup, or tanning, whatever you have going on in the morning, if you're a female or a guy or whatever. So you get up in the morning, see where you're at. Do I need more food? Whatever. So the way I forgot to mention this, on Friday with my athletes, I will have them check in first thing in the morning, prescribe a meal, and then every 2.5 or 2 to 3 hours after that, I'm prescribing the next meal and the next meal and the next meal based on videos they send me of how they look, or pictures depending on phone service and things like that. But I like the videos if we can. So that's what it looks like with me. You're, like I said, every 2.5 or every 2 to 3 hours on Friday, we're checking in. So that's what the day before looks like. The morning of, again, same thing. I'm waking up with my athletes, or, once they get done with the first thing, I'll look at them depending on time or whatever. So first meal on Saturday, whatever that may look like, depending on what time show is, 2.5 or 2 to 3 hours later, we're eating again, potentially, or maybe we're not, if we don't need it. Water will do based on what you need, those types of things. Boom, boom, show day, right? So we're ready for the morning show, do what we're doing up till backstage, pump up, then you're on stage. 15 seconds that you've just spent, that you've earned for the last 20 weeks, and plus whatever you did before that, plus all the training of your life. There's that 15 seconds you got on stage. You got to flex your muscles. People clapped, hopefully. Hopefully you were in the middle, moved into the middle of everybody else, and you're excited when you get off stage, right? So that's the goal. So we're done with the morning show. All right, now what? burger and fries, right? Maybe. Hopefully not, because hopefully we had enough food, before the morning. Every now and then I'll like to test out some of those things with my athletes. I'll have kind of be a little more conservative with the morning show, see where they land. If they're in the middle, we know they might be going for an overall. Maybe they look a little flat after the morning show because they pumped up and you burned through some of the glycogen. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they look like they almost spilled, whatever. So I might even have them go do a little workout, right, just to get some of the glycogen and water moving around and that kind of thing. Or I might have them do more water or a diuretic, just whatever they need based on how they look. So between shows, food, water, maybe, diuretic, maybe, workout, maybe, whatever. So you're doing your middle of the day stuff. And then you get ready for the night show. Whatever you're doing with food, backstage, water, whatever, pickles, pumping, finals. Okay, you're posing with, or you do your routine if if you have a routine, you do your individual if you don't have a routine, and then they give you awards. Okay, every now and then, very rarely, they'll rejudge you at night for your class. Very rarely, especially at the regional level, and even the national level. So you'll do your routine, whatever, they give awards. Okay, we've won our class. Awesome. So now we're going to go for the overall. So assess after that. Do we need extra food? Do we need more water? Do we need some salt? Whatever. We'll do that. Pump up again, probably. Go do the overall comparison. Yay, we won the overall. Great. Okay. So now what happens that night, right? So after the show's over, it depends on whether you have another show in a week or two. Do you have another show in 6 weeks? Do you have a national show now? Are you done for the year? Are you done forever? It just depends on what's going on, following that show. So let's just say in this instance, we came up to do what we got, we did what we came to do. We got nationally qualified. So now maybe next year we're going to do a national show, but right now we're just going to celebrate this win and, just, enjoy that for a little bit. So meal after the show, probably whatever you want. If you've had, some water cutting, things like that, you have to be very careful with packing in a bunch of sodium and electrolytes and fluids and trash food and alcohol. You got to be really careful with all those things after the show. So be very careful with those things. Whether you did anything to manipulate water or not, you're still in kind of a vulnerable place, with your fluid balance and things like that, just from being so lean and that kind of thing. And so be very careful with all that. Your digestion is going to be a little weird too, so that's going to affect fluids and things. So just be careful. Don't go out and make yourself sick after the show. Enjoy a meal, and then get some sleep. Again, that's assuming you're done for the year, right? Like if you've got a show the next weekend, you might need to go get some fish and vegetables, or just go home. You just go to sleep. It just depends on that. So that's, again, we're assuming that we're done for the year. So now we're done for the year. The night's over. We've already celebrated. Everybody's happy. We're going home, going to bed. Wake up the next day. It's Sunday. Yesterday was show day. Now what? Am I depressed? Probably not yet, but you will be. So Sunday, what I usually recommend for my people who don't have something coming up soon, I don't like for them to have to jump right back on playing the next day. Some people want to do that, and that's fine. That's great. But what I'll usually recommend is for people to have 3 or 4 just square meals on Sunday. So you have a nice breakfast that you like, whatever, if you want to go get some brunch, whatever. And then you'll have, either a lunch or, some type of mid-morning snack or whatever, another meal, and then maybe a dinner, right? And that's, 3 or 4 meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, snack, lunch, dinner, whatever. So you had 4 meals. They were reasonable adult human meals. So they had a meat, a vegetable, and a carb, or it was a sandwich or whatever. So those are your 4 meals. That's what I like to do on that next day. So now that day is over, well, Monday's back. We got to get back on plan, right? Assuming you don't have some outside situations like your family's in town or you're visiting family or you're on a vacation, which I don't recommend a vacation right after a show typically. Some people need them. I've seen it work out fine, but I've also, I know it can potentially be a disaster. I've done it, or I've been, traveling after a show and done things, and it's just really hard to keep the food intake under control if you're not in a routine, that kind of thing. So the biggest thing is just, try to find some type of routine on Monday to get you back in place. So there's different strategies for post-show, assuming there's not a show coming up soon for you. You can do a reverse diet, recovery diet. I believe I've talked about that on here before, But, there's a couple different options for that. So, I'm not going to get into the details as far as that goes, but assuming you don't have anything coming up anytime soon, the goal post show is to get your hormones, your sex hormones, your hunger hormones, your body fat levels, all of those things to a much healthier place. There's a lot that goes into how quickly you want to get body fat up. There's a lot that goes into what you do as far as like meal plans, or do you do macros now, or whatever. So that's client to client, individual stuff. So there's a lot of different options there. But whatever you're doing, show is Saturday. Sunday is kind of a free, reasonable day. And then Monday, you want to try to kind of get back into a routine. Now, with training this week, you probably want to be a little bit more careful. You might have some more energy because of the food, but your joints and your muscles and your bones and those things, connective tissues, all of that is not prepared for you to go in and train like you did in the off season, right? So be careful. Don't go in and get injured. Don't go in trying to hit PRs on really anything. Unless it's maybe like a rep PR and you're doing like bicep curls and you want to do a ton of them or whatever. Like that's a great idea, right? Get a good pump, use all the extra food to get extra reps and that sort of thing. So that's kind of where, where that's at that first week. You're easing back into training. You're being very careful. And then, maybe you start a new program the following week of training, or maybe you take some time off or whatever, whatever that looks like, depending on how you're feeling and, some of your other biofeedback, as far as, hunger and energy and things like that. So the following week after that first week, you might be right back onto a plan, depending on whether you're on anabolics or not. Maybe you're completely off everything now and you're just doing testosterone, or maybe you're taking advantage of a little bit of a rebound phase. Again, that kind of goes back to the health, that sort of thing. So, there's different ways to approach that aspect of it. So just generally, the second week, you should be pretty much back into some sort of a rhythm with training and nutrition, supplementation, that sort of thing. So 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks go by. Now you're probably a little sad, a little bit depressed, right? So I had my show, and now what, right? Like I accomplished this goal. I spent all this time. I was grinding. It felt great to be in that, in the trenches with that. And then I did my show and it went great. And now it's over. Now what? So, there's a couple of different things that or different ways to sort of cope with this. One is setting some new goals. Okay. So, and new goals within the ultimate goal, which is whatever it is, right? Whether it's get a pro card or, building your business or whatever you're using competing to do. You want to set some smaller goals so that you can lock in on those, in the meantime, until you're in that next prep the next year or whenever it is. So the best thing that I can recommend is just finding something to keep you motivated in the gym, or not even motivated, but a reason to be disciplined. Because motivation is nonsense, right? Like you can be motivated for a couple days. Cool. That's great. It'll get you started. Then what happens when that's gone, right? You got to have discipline. You got to have good habits. So there's got to be some kind of a why for these good habits. So maybe all you need to know is that you're doing USAs next year, or, or something like what I'm doing. I know I'm not getting on stage again until next July, unless I do something, right around then anyway. So I know I've got a very long time. So it can get a little bit tough to want to push in the gym and eat all the food and do all the things. So, maybe I've got a goal of hitting X number of reps with X number of plates on a hack squat. Or, if you like to deadlift, maybe I'm going to hit a 1 rep max on deadlift, or, whatever that may be, just obviously being safe and training reasonably in those types of things. I don't necessarily recommend 1 rep maxes, but maybe that if that's your thing and it's part of your training and you enjoy it, then that's probably fine. As long as you're careful and safe and don't do anything dangerous, as far as breaking form, things like that. So anyway, not the point. Point is, find some small goals and crush those, right? Whether that's, okay, I'm going to have a perfect week with nutrition this week, or I'm going to hit my cardio all this week, or whatever that looks like. So, maybe I'm going to be perfect for the next 6 months. And that's all you need, is just knowing that you're following the plan in the moment as you go. So whatever it is, find a why, right? And then create those habits and be disciplined. So don't want to say depression because that's a little dramatic, but it feels that way. And it can get into that, if you don't have something that excites you. So be prepared, post show to have some of those blues. It's just like a marathon runner that trains, runs a marathon. Next day, now what? Right? Unless you have another marathon to run. So I know it's that way in all sports, right? So you finish the big thing you've been training for. Now you got to find something else to give you some meaning, purpose. And that's within this bodybuilding realm. I don't mean like your purpose and that sort of thing. Like, I have my faith and things like that. So that's not what I'm talking about in this realm. I just mean something in the gym, in the kitchen, on the treadmill, on the street if you're doing cardio outside, those things. Just find a reason and a why to have those the discipline there. So that's your post show. I guess I should talk about kind of some of the things that you're going to go through post show. So your hunger is going to be way worse than it was, or it's going to seem way worse than it was when you were in prep, because in prep, you're laser focused, you got tunnel vision, and you have a specific goal and a very good reason not to go off diet. But when the show's over, you can't really convince yourself that there's a good enough reason not to eat, extra food and that sort of thing, unless you have a good enough reason, which is maybe, I want to make sure I nail this reverse diet, or I don't want to be fat in the off season, or I've got a photo shoot in several weeks and I don't have to be stage lean for it, but I'd like to not look sloppy and things like that. So you've got to make sure that you want to stick to the plan bad enough after the show. Otherwise, it's going to be really tough to fight through that. And you're going to have a lot of cravings. You're going to want to binge eat. You're going to want to eat things you wouldn't normally eat. You'll find crazy things to do with peanut butter and things like that, just because your body's fighting to survive and it doesn't understand what we're doing. It just thinks that you're underfed and that you need to put body fat on and you need to find nutrients. So just know that those things are going to happen. Those things are coming. If you have a bad meal or a bad night or a bad day or a bad week, don't beat yourself up. Just start over the next day, right? Every day is new. Start fresh. Try and be on point that day, and just don't let a bad period of time, no matter how short or long, keep you from getting back on track with your food. So just know that the hunger is going to be pretty strong. The energy is going to take a little while to come back. Sex hormones can take a little while to sort of recover. If you're natural, it takes a little bit of time and some body fat. So post show, you're going to go through a lot of things. And some people go through some body dysmorphia issues, where you start to put some body fat on and you feel like you look terrible. Most people will tell you that you look better with a little bit of body fat and some shape and a little bit more fullness and that sort of thing after a show, male or female. Because a stage lean look is typically not that attractive to most people. Not that we're here to be attractive or anything like that. So that's not the point, but I'm just saying after a show, you're going to go through some dips in how you feel about the way you look, because it is going to change. It's not going to be stage lean. It's just, you can't stay that way in a healthy manner. And, most people don't feel very good anyway. So you shouldn't necessarily want to. So you're going to put body fat on and you're going to probably not like what that looks like after you've seen yourself in such a crazy, condition with all the veins and the lines and fullness from the, if you're carving up and that sort of thing. So just know that after the show, your mind's going to play tricks on you and you're going to, question the way you look and maybe not like it. That's hard, right? That's, if it continues to be really, really bad, I would recommend, getting some therapy and some help with that. But just know that that's coming. And, again, all I can do is tell you that you don't look as bad as you think. And people typically prefer a more healthy look, with some body fat on it. So if you can, try to think about it that way and just try to remember that it's for your own good and it's for your health. And ultimately, it's for your bodybuilding career, because if you don't put the body fat back on, you're not going to be able to make any progress toward that next show and whatever the ultimate goal is. So that's pretty much the whole thing. So, you get through your postseason phase. Obviously, there's a lot of blood work being done in there. Depending on how long you've been doing this, you're going to have some heart tests and things like that you might do. Hormones, you're going to make sure those are in a good place, getting those checked, and taking steps to fix those if necessary and that kind of thing. So just know that there's going to be a lot of maintenance for your health and making sure that, everything stays in a good place. And if at any point it doesn't, it's not in a good place and you're not healthy and you need to step back, be prepared to do so, because this is an unhealthy sport, but it can be done in a, relatively healthy way. And so just know that throughout the entire process, pre-prep, intra-prep, after prep, you're going to be doing blood work. You're going to be doing, just different things to make sure that your health's in place, checking blood glucose, checking blood pressure, taking health supplements, things like that. So that's kind of throughout the whole process. But again, after the show, the goal is to get as healthy as possible, as soon as possible, and then get back to a normal place, as time and, everything else dictates. So hopefully this was helpful. I get a lot of questions about what to expect, with the prep. Everybody's prep's going to be different. Everybody's prep from prep to prep is different. Not everybody is going to experience the same things every time. It's all about how your body responds and making the adjustments accordingly. And, hopefully every prep gets a little better because you got a little more muscle and your metabolism's better, but that doesn't always, happen that way either. So just know that, that's just sort of an outline of what to expect, but, just know that there's a lot of variation within that. I know it's a lot. I just talked for a very long time. Usually these are a lot shorter. So if you have any questions, please comment below, reach out to me, team_chiseled on Instagram. Email me, joshchisholmfitness@gmail.com. If you're interested in coaching, if you have any questions about any of this, or if I said anything that you thought was stupid or wrong, or want to argue with me about or correct me on, let me know. I don't know everything, but that's a lot of that was just, kind of my experience and things. So again, if you have anything that you want to talk about or whatever, please reach out, comment below, whatever that looks like. So again, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. And I will talk to you guys next time. Thanks.